Welcome to the Bourbon Van. I'm Phil. Kentucky Owl Rye on a beautiful Central Oregon day. I'll drink to that. This is the first time Kentucky Owl has been featured on the Bourbon Van. This is really the first one that fit into our budget, if we're honest. The Kentucky Owls that we've seen in the past, the really expensive ryes and bourbons, we've only tried them in bars. They were wonderful, but we never pulled the trigger on a bottle until we saw this one, the Wiseman Rye, and we got this bottle for $50. Our understanding is it sells more like $60 to $65 out and about. It is 100.8 proof, and this is the first batch of this. Our understanding is that they're going to do different batches from time to time, and we just love the look of this bottle. Whoever the artist is deserves a raise. Kentucky Owl, don't wait for the end of the year, don't wait for a review, just give them money. This is fantastic. The bottle itself says the Wiseman on the side, has 1879 up here, the facets on the bottom, just great looking glass, and even the cork says the Wiseman on top. So today we are going to nose, taste, check out the finish on this glass, talk a little bit about value in comparable bottles, because this one has a lot of challengers out there, but it's also a pretty interesting bottle. Let's get right to the nose. This one's not overly spicy for a rye, even though this is 95% rye in the mash bill. You would expect it to be super spicy. The first thing I noticed here was raisins, which I don't always get a ton of on rye. That's kind of a nice treat here. There is some spice coming behind. That rye is definitely present, but there's also some vanilla, some oak. There's even a little bit of brown sugar here, but let's not spend too much time on the nose because I'm ready to sip this thing. Cheers. Wow. Okay, so super spicy, rye spice, big time flavor up front, but almost immediately shifts gears to sweetness. Kentucky hug here, that's nice. And some vanilla, some caramel, some oak, the stuff you'd expect. The spice is quite heavy at first, but it doesn't linger at all. It immediately starts to cool off, turns to cinnamon, and then turns to that vanilla, caramel, sweet oak. The lingering flavor here on my tongue is that raisin. Very interesting. Let's have sip two and see what else we find in here. A very pleasant dance on the tongue here. It's an interesting earthiness that comes through. It's almost like if raisins grew out of the dirt and then these didn't get cleaned off very well. For $50, I'm expecting a lot. I'm kind of getting it here. This is actually a really nice, sippable whiskey. The flavors are big enough that I could see this even performing well in a cocktail if that's what you were looking to do with this rye. Let's have a third sip. Not a lot changing on sip number 3, but what's there is nice. The finish, honey coming through, kind of a lot of honey. Raisin is still there, and some vanilla. The spice is gone though. It's all sweetness now, which I can't say I dislike it. It's very pleasant. This is a bottle that, even though there's a hit of spice right up front, the sweetness comes through almost immediately, and that's what hangs around. That's basically the story of this bottle. Spice up front, then bring on that sweetness. Mouthfeel, sort of creamy, not overly creamy, but satisfying enough. And for a $50 bottle, I think now we have to talk value a little bit. There are a lot of great ryes out there. There are a lot of great ryes at $50 and under. And let's start with the 95.5 ryes. This is a Kentucky-made rye that's 95% rye, made by Bardstown, by the way, which I think is very interesting because MGP kind of rules that 95.5 mash bill area when it comes to rye. I think that this is a direct competitor with a product like Bullet 95, which I tend to like. It's my go-to when I go to a bar and there's not a lot behind the bar. That's a nice, easy choice because it's a great little sipper. I tend to think that that's a little spicier. This has a better mouthfeel and finish, but then again, you're talking about a bottle that's probably $15 difference, maybe more. I think the Bullet is a better value, but I think this is probably a little bit better whiskey. When it comes down to other brands at the $50 price point, immediately I go to Pikesville, 6 years aged, 110 proof. That's just the king of the $50 rye bottles in my opinion, and I definitely would buy that before I'd buy this again. But then you have to think about some of those bottles that are just super sweet that perform very similarly to this. I think Wild Turkey 101 is a great example. I think Sazerac Rye is a great example, even though it's at 90 proof. I think Old Forester Rye is in the conversation. And if you're looking for a bottle to use in cocktails, Rittenhouse Bottled in Bond has to be the bottle that's half the price of this or less. So there are a lot of competitive ryes that are very good. I think we've seen time and time again, you don't have to spend a lot on a rye to get a great whiskey. I think this is a great bottle to have on the shelf if you're a collector. I think it would make a great gift, maybe a going away present. Maybe you got your boss fired for whatever reason. Buy him one of these. I think that's a great gift. As much as I like it more as a collector than as a drinker, and I think that that's the story on this bottle. So if you've had Kentucky Owl, the Wiseman whiskey, let me know what you think of it. I think it's the best looking bottle in their repertoire. I also happen to think that it's a very nice, tasty whiskey, but again, there's so many great ryes out there, so many great values. It's hard to recommend this one. So let me know if you've tried it. What do you think of it? What are you drinking instead of it? And from wherever we are to wherever you are, cheers. It is a pretty bottle.